Brandon, thank you so much for being on the show today. I greatly appreciate it. For those who haven't had a pleasure of meeting you, whether it be at an expo or a training, can you share with everyone your name and what you do for CertainPath?
Sure. My name is Brandon Marshall, and I am the Transformation and Leadership Mentor at CertainPath. And so it's great to be on here. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Oh, it's great to always have you on. You always have great nuggets to share with everyone. And a topic we're going to talk about today is an idea of building a legacy, because I think it's something that, especially as business owners, kind of get along in their journey and experience some success, they start thinking about, what's going to happen to this company and to me over time. And I think it really blends well with what you're working on. A couple new exciting projects we're going to talk about. And I think they're projects that'll help our members and really their team members too become better leaders, but also better spouses, parents, better people. But before we dig into all that great content, I would say this might be someone's first show, first time they've ever checked out CertainPath, first time they've ever checked out the Successful Contractor podcast, first time they've ever seen you. So for people that don't know who Brandon Marshall is, kind of share with them your journey to where you are today.
Oh my goodness, it's been a journey. I can promise you that. I was in the commercial air conditioning business for a couple of years previous to coming here, and it was good. I was learning a lot of things, but it wasn't fulfilling. It wasn't what I knew in my heart that would satisfy me as a person. And so it's by chance my wife had set a dinner with some people that, frankly, I didn't even want to go to. I said, my wife has to know everybody. She's a social butterfly. She must know you. And so I didn't want to go, but because I like being married, I went. And it was this couple, and the guy was, he's 6'5" and suit and tie and well put together. And we're having a nice conversation. And I asked him a question just to make conversation that I've been asking for decades. I said, if you could wake up tomorrow and be doing anything you wanted to do, what would you be doing? And he said, oh, that's easy. I'd be a rock star. Which if you saw the guy and you knew the guy, you would know that it's like the opposite of what he represented. And so I kind of laughed at him, and he did something that nobody had ever done before. And he asked me back. He said, what would you do? And, it kind of took me back for a second. I had to think about it because I don't often think about myself in that manner. And in the moment, I said I would travel around to businesses and inspire their people. I would do my best to pour into them and deliver these speeches. And he said, well, why don't you start with mine? Which was a complete shock because I didn't say I could do it. I said I would do it. It would be cool.
Yeah.
So about 30 days later, I delivered my first corporate speech to his team. It was about 30 or 40 people in the room. And when I got done, they all clapped, and he gave me some T-shirts with their logo on it, the book they had bought me, and I went and got in my car and cried all the way home.
Yeah.
Called my wife. I said, this is what I'm going to do. I don't know how it's going to work out, but this is me. And she says, that's great. How are we going to pay the bills? Which I'll never forget because I was like, the reality check. But he ended up introducing me to a series of friends. And one of those friends was a member of CertainPath. And he sent me an email in Seattle and said, there's this thing next week and the speaker backed out. Would you like to do it? I said, yeah, of course. And he didn't tell me anything about it, didn't tell me how to prepare. He just said, do whatever you want. And I showed up, and it was an expo. It was one of our expos. And, there's all kinds of people there. And nobody knew I was coming. And I did a breakout session for him. And when I came down off the stage, he said, how would you like to do this forever? Yeah. And I can't tell you what that moment meant to me. It's hard to describe what that moment has led to in my life. But the thing I will tell you is this, that sometimes you got to say yes to some things that you're not sure about. Sometimes you got to take a chance on some things that you might not fully understand. And that led me to this company. It led me to the great relationships that I have with our membership and with our team. And ultimately, I was introduced to Rebecca and the team, and I was hired. And it's been one of the great pleasures of my life, for sure.
Yeah, I love it. And what you do, you've had the great pleasure of going into people's businesses and speaking to them and their teams. And, I think you get the unique experience of seeing how people run their businesses, seeing how they interact with one another. And I know, this year has been great for some, but for a lot of them, it's been challenging. There's been issues going on. The economy's a little unstable. The election, I'm sure, it's affecting that. So what are some of the common challenges you see that contractors face, specifically as leaders today?
Yeah, so the leaders of the companies are looking further down the road than most people. Most people within the organization are looking to tomorrow, maybe next week, what we have to accomplish. But the leader is the one who's looking far beyond that. And I think the biggest challenge right now, of course, the economic question marks that we're all facing. But as an organization, it's difficult to find a rhythm and keep putting one foot in front of the other and knocking out the basics when you don't know what's on the other side of the hill. And so just that uncertainty, I think, is something that's always a question mark. But then, at the same time, there's personnel, it's all very future based. And most of our challenges for leaders are what's going to happen in the future. And so just not being able to understand a consistency or find a steady flow that will lead you to that is something I think is a challenge that everybody's facing.
For sure. I always feel like there's two sides of this coin. There's challenges on one side, but there's opportunities on the other, right? And I think people that own businesses, that are leaders in businesses, they have a great opportunity in front of them, and that's to impact others. Maybe talk about the great blessing that is.
My goodness. It's hard to put into words, the result of an impacted life. But I think that we're all on some level impacted. We are who we are because we have been impacted. And it's such a blessing to be able to shape and help shape the course of someone's life that you really only get as a leader. You're the person who's putting that vision out there. And people are following you for one simple reason. At the end of the day, they're following you because you have a sense of what's next for them. They believe that you know what's next for them down the road, and just the ability to do that on a day-to-day basis and have the freedom to be able to do it the way that you would do it. We are all been shaped by our environment. We have been shaped by the way that we were brought up. We can really only lead to the level of our exposure. And so most of us, either through really great leaders or poor leaders, have developed a way that we choose to do it. And that's a blessing in itself, to be able to do it the way that you would do it, to be able to impact a life the way that you feel like is important based on what you know and who you are is something that's it's an incredible blessing to be able to do.
Absolutely. And I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. I know, again, you being in so many businesses, talking to so many people from owners to people that are on the front lines. Well, what is there a memorable story or two that pops up in your mind of something really neat that a leader, an owner of a business was able to do for one of their folks?
Oh my goodness. We could be here forever. And I know that you have a ton of these stories as well, but one that stood out to me in Ohio last year, maybe the year before, I was with a group there, and the warehouse manager who had been with them for several years was losing his hearing. He was getting to the point where it was becoming a serious frustration for him. If you can imagine, not being able to be aware because you can't hear was something that, and they didn't have to do it, but the owner of the company noticed that and spoke to the gentleman about it and was able to get him some hearing aids and pay for that and do that as a blessing to him. And man, the result of joy, not just for the person and not just for the owner, but for the whole team to witness that and say, this is the type of organization and these are the type of people that I'm connected to is an impact that, to this day sticks with me. It's amazing.
That's neat. And the owner, it wasn't like the guy came to the owner, right? The owner just was observant. He's being a leader. He's being present. He was pouring into his people, and he just goes, I've got a team member who has an issue. Let me, he's not asking for it. I just want to help him.
Right. No requirement to do it, no rule that says you have to, just simply because he wanted to. And we have so many of those stories and so many of those members that notice those things. And I've seen people send their person to through a certification that they wanted that didn't even really fit the role. It was just something that they desired for maybe something in the future, and they were intentional about making sure that it happened for that person. And those types of things, that impact is it's immeasurable.
Yeah. I brought up, these memorable things, these ways we can impact people, because it speaks to our topic today, which is building a legacy. So, Brandon, just love to get your initial thoughts. What does building a legacy mean to you in the context of owning and running a business?
Building a legacy is something that I think, and I think about it often, and I don't know if it's because, I'm getting up in middle age. I can say middle age. I turned 45 this year. To some people, they might go, "Oh, that's still very young." And there are days when it feels young, but I think when you think about legacy, it's a future state. It's something that's successful after you, something that still continues to go on after your involvement in it. It's the ability to be intentional in the moment with the future in mind. In my mind, that's a good way to describe what a legacy is and building that.
Yeah. How does emotional intelligence play a role in leadership and legacy building?
It's emotional intelligence. Again, it's one of those subjects that's been around, but only became popular probably 10 or 15 years ago, because people really, recognize the need for it. They said there's something missing. Nobody's having this conversation. We have the conversation about the rules, the regulations, the systems, the processes, all these things that are important. When the studies show that the most successful business people on the planet are those that have a high level of emotional intelligence. And so I think specifically for a contractor, a person who's leading a organization, it's making sure that our message is getting across, that when we are investing in someone as a desire to build a legacy, that message is being heard. And unless we're cognizant and aware of how that message is being received, then it becomes more about what we're saying and less about people, what they hear. And in that communication piece, when we're communicating a thought or we're communicating anything, we have to be able to communicate in a way that penetrates all the scars that are built up, that penetrates all the damage that was done. It penetrates all those layers and layers that we've built up over the years. We have to be able to speak in a way and communicate in a way that gets straight through to that. And it's not necessarily how you're saying it. It's what you hear, and making sure that people are hearing what you're saying on a level that brings change. So ultimately it's important.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of our folks, they're just so, they've been in the grind for so long, right? They're always worried about the next day, the next thing they need to do, the next, system they need to implement to get the business to keep rolling. That a lot of them don't think about how they react to their folks, right? They're not strong naturally in emotional intelligence, but as I've learned in this organization, it's definitely a skill that can be developed. So how do people develop that skill?
Yeah, I think most people measure the result and they're confused by the result because they weren't present in the moment. And so developing the skill is something that's actually, the great thing about emotional intelligence is it is something that you can develop. It's different than your IQ. Your IQ you have and have had born with, nothing you can do about it. But your EQ can be developed over time. And so I would say being present in every moment as often as you can, taking a step back and actually analyzing what's going on, being able to judge the temperature in the room, being more present where you are. And that takes intention because we're all in that grind every day. We want to get the job done. We want to make sure that it's done right. There's a lot on the line, and those pressures are there. But stepping back and taking the time to go, hey, I need to have an awareness of where I am now and how I'm coming across to people. So I think the first step is being aware of what your current state is and being open and honest with yourself and going, yeah, I need some help, or I'm not doing too bad. Maybe a little tweak here or there can help me out. But having that real moment of honest self-evaluation and not excusing it away, as people just, I'm misunderstood. Well, you likely are misunderstood because you the message you were trying to portray or to deliver fell on deaf ears because of the way you handled yourself. And so I think developing that skill, we teach a great class at CertainPath. We teach emotional intelligence, which is always one of the better attended classes we do a couple times a year. And we've seen people come out of that class, having broken down all these walls. I mean, we've had people overcome things they've been, fears that they've had since they were kids. I mean, we've had some real breakthroughs in that class, which ultimately results into a better leader, a better teammate, a better everything. So I would say it's definitely worth the investment, but the place to start is, where am I now?
Right.
I know what's possible. I know where I can be, but it's impossible to get there unless I take an evaluation of my current state. So that's where I would start.
Support for this podcast comes from Pulse M Plus and Customer Lobby. Is maximizing reviews and referrals a priority for your business in the second half of the year? Pulse M Plus and Customer Lobby are proud partners of CertainPath and can help you achieve more reviews and repeat business by working together to create value at each touchpoint in your customer's journey. Increasing your amount of Google reviews has a large impact on gaining more repeat and referral business. Pulse M Plus can help you achieve up to 3 times more reviews by automating review requests at the end of each job, and then Customer Lobby's unique algorithm follows up with your customer base at the optimal time to produce a response. Customer Lobby's direct mail postcards give your customers an extra way to keep your company top of mind when they need to schedule their next appointment with you. If you're looking to hear more about how we partner with CertainPath members or view a free demo for Pulse M Plus and Customer Lobby, we'd love to connect with you. Visit our link at get.pulsem.me/pm-plus-CertainPath. And Staples. Staples is the leading provider in office supplies, offering a vast selection of products and services. Over the last 2 years, Staples has also become one of the largest janitorial suppliers in the U.S. as well. From your everyday business essentials to your office furniture, printing, facilities, and break room, Staples can do it all. Staples offers benefits to help create efficiencies in procurement and consolidate vendors to streamline internal processes. Visit staplesadvantage.com to learn more.
So many of our members, contractors, they're growing their business, they're hiring people, they're putting them into positions. And I think there's always this thought like, okay, I've got Joe or Jane there. They got it, But it doesn't really, that's not how it works. That's how, when you get to where you're growing an organization, you really need to be even more cognizant of developing people and pouring into them as a leader. So can you kind of talk to why that's important? How do you do that? How do you help Joe and Jane become, not only a great operator in whatever function they are in your business, but also great leaders as well?
Yeah, I think the leaders are always walking that line between autonomy and neglect. And if I put you into a position to be able to manage something, to be able to take care of something, I want to give you the autonomy to be able to do it, the freedom to be able to do it. I want to empower you to do it. But that doesn't mean that you're over there, that's yours, whatever the result is on you, because ultimately every result as a leader is on yourself. And so walking that line between giving them the freedom and also not neglecting them in the process of what they need from you is something that's a balancing beam. So I think that the difference is, if I know that you're being intentional about pouring into me, not because I'm making mistakes, but because there's a better version of me that you're trying to help me see, that I'm more likely to be accepting of your management, be accepting of your criticism, be accepting of these things, because you've made those deposits in me that make me feel like you want me to be better. Therefore, the harder conversations and things that we need to have come a little easier. And so there's not giving people autonomy without it appearing to be neglect. Something that you should focus on and think about.
I like that. For people who aren't natural at that, right? We all know there's people that are just warm and I want to pour into people, right? And okay, I need to do that. So, but then there's people like, what? I just want them to do their job. How would you explain to them what are ways to kind of foster that relationship, right? I know we talk about one-on-ones and maybe kind of speak to that and why that's so important.
You can't replace one-on-one time. Regardless of whether that's virtual, and it doesn't have to be a sit down hour every day or every week or whatever.
No.
It could be a 15-minute touch point that we just get together. We make that agreement in the morning. We're going to spend 10 minutes on the phone. We're going to talk about what's important for today. We're going to talk about what happened yesterday. And quickly, we're just going to touch on how you're feeling. What's going on with you? All right. Okay. Those little touch points go a long way, but you have to be intentional about it. You can't just let it go. And then also setting those expectations for people, because if I know what's expected of me and I'm clear on that, then I'm more receptive to the feedback of how it did or didn't go. But if you're trying to hold someone accountable to something that you didn't properly set the expectation for, you're not doing them a justice and you're doing yourself injustice. So those expectation setting, touch points, one-on-ones along the way are really how the magic happens. Because again, I follow you because I think you know what's best for me. Yeah, unless you're intentional about telling me what's best for me and where you want me to go, then we're both just kind of hoping for a good result.
I think that third question, you said there's 3 questions. The last one, what can I do for you? How can I serve you? That's I feel like the important one, right? Obviously the first 2 are kind of more business driven, but, and if you do them enough, I feel like, that relationship builds and people are more open with you, right? And that's where that connection helps and people are more willing to go that extra mile for you. Has that been your experience as well?
Oh, for sure. Helping me understand what you need from me is something that I think every leader needs. Because otherwise we're working on the assumption of what we think is best. But if you can help me understand what you need me to be for you to be successful, then I can try and deliver that. More importantly than that, though, is if you do tell me what you need from me and I agree to it, that follow-up has to be there. I then have to deliver on what I've said I would be and do. And it can't just be enough to have it in that moment. There has to be that follow through. And I've seen so many leaders be intentional in the moment with all the best intentions, and they get busy and forget and walk away and do these things. And so being organized with those notes from that meeting is something I've witnessed firsthand, even from my leadership. They're very organized with those notes, and they're very intentional about following up to what we talked about last time to make it feel like this just isn't lip service, that you actually want to do something and make me better. Yeah.
And I think people that make that effort to connect with their folks, to help grow them, the business flourishes as well. I know there's a lot of old school guys that might be watching, listening, going, okay, that all sounds whatever. But it's a byproduct. Financial success, if you have people all pulling in the same direction, you're going to make money, you're going to be profitable with the right systems in place. That's why you come work with us, of course. So,
right.
I do want to talk also, you have the benefit, again, more than I do of going into the offices, going into the shops, seeing how people respond to the leaders, right? What are some common traits you see of how people react to you there, react to their leaders? And I think that it's awfully telling about the legacy they're building in their business.
Yeah. I've and I go to these places, and I can promise you, we have the opportunity to serve some of the best people anywhere on the planet. I've met people all over the world, and I think that our group and the people that I have the privilege of even being in their own homes, some of the best people out there. And when I walk into the organization, you can feel how that organization feels about themselves, how they feel about you being there, how they feel about the leader. And I've been impressed over and over and over again with some of the great leaders and how their people respond to them. You can tell in the way that they talk. You can tell in their language, their mannerisms. And in the best leaders that I see, their people speak in a very similar way that they speak. And they answer questions in a very similar way. And everybody knows what's expected, and there's a level of excellence there that's amazing. If you think about it, what we're doing as leaders is we're duplicating ourselves in someone else. And so the best leaders that I see, I watch their people and see how they respond to that. They're not responding in a way that just makes the leader happy. There's a difference. They're responding in a way that almost identical to what the way the leader would respond to it. And that's how you know that what you have is being passed on. And that's how you know that that legacy and that culture is there that allows for that type of long-term sustainable growth.
Yeah, absolutely. This whole idea of leadership, building legacy speaks beautifully to really two exciting projects you're working on in this new role of yours. And I want to dig into them because I think they're so exciting. They're so different than I think what a lot of people offer in our contracting space. I see there's more competitors maybe than ever that want to teach sales training or consulting and contracting. But I love that you're going down this avenue of developing people because you got to have the operations, you got to have the right people. But if you can't lead people, I think there's nothing there. You're going to have turnover. You're going to have problems. So the first I want to talk about is the Pride, which was teased at our last expo. Share with everyone the details, what that looks like and what that will involve.
Man, I am excited. I got to say, I'm like a little kid. I'm just giddy about this thing. It's so the Pride comes from a pride of lions, and it's about being a part of not just a group, but being a part and being the best version of yourself and being who you were designed and what the world needs. And so it is both impactful as far as personal mentorship. You get to learn from all the mistakes that I've made. You get to learn from some of the great, the wisdom from the past, the people who have poured into my life and the things that have been poured out from generations through mentors that I've had personally. And so it is my goal and my privilege really to sort of tear down the wall, take the mask down of everything that you want people to think and really give the raw, best stuff that I have and pour into you and duplicate some of what I have and some of the things that I've benefited from into your life. So there's that personal connection as well as being a part of a group. So each class will come through this 12-month program that we've built. When we were at Expo, and I don't know if you remember this, there was a QR code up on the screen for people to take a survey who might have some interest in this. And I'll be real frank with you. I thought, oh my God, we're going to put this up there and nobody's going to want to do it. Yeah. One of the things that's my own, sort of thought process, but
yeah,
just the response was overwhelming. There were 1,600 people in the room and tons of phones went up, and I thought, okay, well, then we can make something. And so there was a questionnaire on there that gave us responses that we were looking for to be able to build a program. And so what I've done is taken the 12 most commonly repeated phrases that people want to build on and built a 12-month program out of that. And that 12-month program, the first 6 months will be us working on you specifically, on you as a person, on you as a husband, a mother, a father, whatever it is, as a person. And then ultimately the next 6 months is about how you deal with other people as a result of what you discovered about yourself. And so it's designed to build leaders, to grow people on a level that makes them as successful as they can be. And not just successful in monetary reasons and all this, but successful meaning satisfied and effective. And so it's equal parts virtual, in person. We will have, as a group, we will have forgive me, I'm lacking the word, meetings throughout the year at different places where we can get together and have that camaraderie as well, at the same time learning these lessons. So virtual, in person, meetings, one-on-ones, all these things included with that. But at the same time, there'll be some challenges issued. Every month when we meet, we're going to discuss a new topic. And in that topic, we're going to discover a new truth. And once that truth is discovered, we're going to issue a new challenge. And that challenge is how we will begin our next meeting. So it's very important, very cool.
Yeah. Why is it important to I've seen you, speak, and I've seen you train, and when you give a great speech, I'm like, wow, but you walk away and you can kind of leave the message behind if you don't want to be intentional with it. But in this, you're going to challenge folks, to really step outside themselves and to push themselves. Why is that important to challenge them in this fashion?
because growth happens when we're uncomfortable. And there may be challenges that you're completely comfortable with and that you absolutely nail, but there are going to be some that pull you outside of who you are and help you discover a version of yourself, or at least a piece of yourself that you didn't know existed. It's gonna push you to do more. It's gonna push you to become more. It's gonna push you to maybe face some things that you haven't for decades. And it's through that process of discomfort that we grow. It gives us a series of victories as well when we realize that we can overcome it, or if we failed in the process, what did we learn from it? Those victories lead to momentum, which ultimately leads to a wave of accomplishment. So that's our goal, and we're excited to see it.
Yeah, for sure. And you talked about the first 6 months. It's kind of working. You're working in group. There's group meetings, and then there's the individual meetings. And
Right.
And you talked about really honing in on what that individual needs to become not just a better business person, a better person, right? And
Right.
I think, that is so important. And a lot of people go, "Wow, I want to have a better business." But I'll tell you what, this, I do. How many times I've seen members, business owners, they've got something going on in their personal life. It touches every single thing, including their business. Business owners watching, listening, it. If you got a great employee and all of a sudden, what's going on with Joe or Jay? It's something in their personal life. So talk about, what you expect in those one-on-ones. How are you going to help guide people? How much personalization is there? Maybe speak to that component of it.
Yeah, the personalization is, when we can build a program based on what might be good for a lot of people, and I believe it's ultimately impactful. I think it's great stuff. But narrowing it down to where you are in this season of life and what you need is going to be the most impactful thing that we can do. I'm looking for some real breakthroughs. I'm looking for some people to face some things that they've been putting off. I'm looking for the opportunity to shape and build something that is there. You just don't know how to put language to it. You don't know quite how to wrap your mind around it. Let me help you discover what that gift is and why it's there and what we can do with it. How you can use that to not only better yourself, but better your family, better the people that you're responsible for. And so that shaping and that individualization of it is something that's unique to the person. So,
and I think with a lot of our folks, they're used to being the big dog, the leader on top of the food. They're not, they got to worry about everyone else. They don't look introspectively and think about themselves. I think that one-on-one, you're going to have an opportunity to work with them and maybe point out certain strengths that they didn't realize they had, or certain things that, I'm great at this. Maybe you're not, but let's get better at it, right? I think that's a really cool opportunity too.
Yeah, it is. And being able to pour into someone who's constantly pouring out to everyone else. As a leader, you've got people pulling on you in every direction. You've got the people that you're responsible for within your organization. You've got the people in the community that you're responsible for. And then you go home and your kids don't care how long you worked that day or what happened. They also need that. And so it feels like we're constantly being pulled on, and we can only give what we have. And once that cup is empty, we start to burn out. I've seen people develop health problems and things as a result of just constantly going and never taking that time to sit back and allow someone to invest in them. And so my goal is to be someone who pours into you, to keeps that cup full, because if that cup is full, then you fill the cups of other people. And if that's missing, even if it's not me, find someone who will speak into your life. Find someone who will continue to build you so that you can continue to do this for a long time.
Yeah. On these group sessions, I've had the benefit of meeting with you and talking about this, being a sounding board of some sort. And it was interesting, they scanned the code and they entered the things how many similarities there were. And there's really 12, I thought, really strong ideas that you can work on that I think really can impact anyone at any stage of business, at any stage of life, because there are just certain truths that I'm like, this is something that can really benefit you. Maybe talk about what did you think about that when you saw those commonalities and how interesting that was?
Well, the first thing it let me know is that we're doing the right thing. It let me know that there is definitely a need for this, and that people are experiencing this more common than you think. The other things that I was surprised. I was surprised by some of the responses because it's not something that we normally would promote. It's not something that people would go, oh, well, I didn't know I could get that from CertainPath. These are things that people are genuinely, so I know that the responses are genuine, but there's some really good stuff in there. There's some things that are going to not only help them personally, they're going to help them financially. They're going to help them, all these different things. And so I was really kind of overwhelmed by just the response that we got and how similar along the line people are thinking. It lets me know that need is there, and it lets me know that, hey, even though I feel like I might be on an island sometimes, that there's an entire group of people who are experiencing the same thing. And so we could actually absolutely attack this thing together and really make each other better.
Yeah. And you said something to me in meeting about this program, The Pride, that I want people to learn how to build a more effective life. Maybe that was something that kind of caught me cold. I wrote it down. And what does that mean to you, building an effective life?
Building an effective life means that you are doing something that is impacting people other than yourself. When you're effective, you have an effect on something or someone outside of who you are. And I think that that if we're pouring our life into this thing, that we want to know at the end of the day that what we're doing matters. Yeah. I've never heard someone at the end of the day go, "Oh, I wish I had more money." At the end of their life on their deathbed, they don't say those things. They say, "I wish I had been more intentional about family. I wish I had been more intentional about making an impact. I wish I would have wrote that book. I wish I would have wrote that song. I wish I would have done," and these regrets. And so we want to eliminate those regrets by being as effective as we possibly can in every moment. And if we're not the best version of ourselves, if there are things that are nagging us that we need to overcome, then let's do that, and let's do it together. And let's really see what it looks like to build something that build a life that matters.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. Another project you're working on that I don't know if anyone really knows about, so I'm excited to be the one to introduce this.
Support for this podcast comes from Reese. Reese is a leading supplier for pros in the plumbing, HVAC, waterworks, and bath and kitchen industries. For over 100 years, Reese has been committed to helping pros like you build your business by providing access to top-quality products backed by the resources, service, and support of product experts. On the job and need supplies but can't get away? Reese will come to you. They make it easy to keep your job moving forward with their rapid delivery services. In just 2 hours, Reese will deliver to any job within 15 miles of participating branches. It's just one more way Reese works for you. Visit Reese.com to learn more about Reese, your trusted supplier and partner. Bradford White is for the professional, which is why they developed the For the Pro mobile app with resources and tools at your fingertips. The Contractor app is loaded with a variety of information and features to support the professional service installation of Bradford White products. With For the Pro app, users can scan a Bradford White product barcode and quickly check warranty status while also having access to all related documents, including I/O manuals and troubleshooting guides. Contractors can also chat with the technical services team within the app or access training videos while on site. The For the Pro app is available for both iOS and Android devices through the Apple and Google App Stores. Download it today.
And I know it's making you happy because you got a big smile on your face. Is this idea of Synergy Camp, and where the Pride is kind of more designed for owners and general managers, although I guess anyone can participate. Synergy Camp is designed for the folks in those people's teams, right? Some people that maybe are emerging leaders you want to pour into. That whole idea of building a legacy, we got to build leaders, right? Build our people up. So share with everyone the exciting details about Synergy Camp.
So Synergy Camp has been something that I've been wanting to do since day one. I started talking to Rebecca about this 4 years ago. And I think the idea is to bring people together in a way that helps them understand what it's like to be on an effective team, to overcome some challenges. And I call it camp, not because we're going to be intense or not because we're going to be out there fighting the elements. I call it camp because it's more like field day when you were in middle school. but we're going to do some things outside, some activities, and it's a challenge-based camp that's going to allow you to compete, but at the same time grow and learn lessons through those competitions that we're going to be doing together. And owners and managers can come. They can send anyone on their team. Almost every training that we do is role specific. This is not. This is for every person on the team, whoever it is that you want to invest in. If you want to invest in someone that you see has a future leader capabilities, then send them to camp. If you have someone that you want to reward for working hard this year, and you want to do something to them, for them, other than just, that means more to them than maybe a bonus or a meal or something like that, send them to camp. Allow us to invest in them in that moment. If you have teammates that you're struggling with, that you can't seem to get started, send them. This is for, the idea is to split them up into teams as soon as they arrive, keep those teams together throughout the course of it. We're going to be doing activity-based learning, which is not, most of the learning that we do or the teaching that we do, we teach a lesson and then we back it up with an activity. Here we're going to create the experience first and then teach the lesson based on what they just experienced. I think it's a much more powerful and impactful way to do it, because they can't deny the things that they felt and heard and understood in the moment of working it out. So that lesson then becomes much more impactful. So that's just a little bit of it. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be messy. It's going to be all those things.
Yeah. And how long is it for folks that are interested in sending their people?
So it's 2.5 days, or 2 days and a morning. So right now it's scheduled for a Thursday, Friday, and a Saturday morning, because that Saturday morning is where the grand finale will take place, which that's where the awards will be given out for the team with the most points, for the individual awards for people who accomplished certain things that we were looking for that maybe we didn't tell them just by observing. There's a method behind all this, and what we're looking for internally is a way to bring teams together so that ultimately they can go back and bring that to their team and be successful in what they're doing and the impact that they're having on their home teams.
Yeah, and what I thought was so remarkable, because I've been in meetings with you developing this, is your activities and the lessons. They all just build on one after another, right? And I think it really makes people kind of breaks them down. And I don't want to give too much away, but it breaks them down and then gets them to think. And then I think it's going to lead to a heck of a crescendo after that 2.5 days. I mean, maybe is there any little insights or nuggets you can sell people on why, on what that looks like and what you're going to expect people to do? Don't want to get too much away.
No, I understand. I think that just, you're right. The intentionality behind it, the thought of what is going to give people the experience that will cause change, that will bring change, and having these build-ups from one activity to the next, from one lesson to the next over the course of the days. What we're looking for is an overall breakthrough from that person. We want them we want to break down some of the defenses that that they may walk in with, or the uncertainties. We want to break that down and get them to the true version of themselves. Then we're going to be looking for breakthroughs. We want them to break through some things. And so whether that's with a teammate that's there, whether that's how they operate within a team, there's going to be some realization there that's going to cause them to be on the other upside of something. And then we're going to look for the breakouts. The breakouts means, this is what I'm definitely taking home. This is how it's going to impact my company. This is my action plan to take this with me and be more effective in what I'm doing.
Yeah, I think what I really love about the program is I've seen this in so many businesses, and I've heard about it and talking to people over the years. It's like a big time. Some of the reason why a company doesn't grow or it hits walls is one division gets pitted versus another division. Oh, they're not doing that. And then they don't talk to each other. They just talk within, right? And I think with a program like this, it's going to make people go, well, let's try and work through that, right? Let's learn that, hey, we're all working together. And I think that was your intention, correct, when building this?
100%. We look at the successful businesses that we serve, and really anywhere around the country, and they all have, in a growth culture, they understand that things flow in a cycle, that everything that we see in nature grows in a cycle. If you plant a seed, that seed then becomes a sprout, which becomes a tree, which produces fruit, which has within it another seed. That seed then goes to the ground and the cycle continues. And I think our businesses are a lot like that. And the breakdown of the frustrations that we experience are when the seed is not communicating with the soil. When you know what I mean? And that's maybe a silly way to say it. When the fruit refuses to let go and allow that next seed to, there's these breakdowns because that person doesn't quite see how they fit in the overall picture of what we do. And so the original idea with this camp and the thought process behind it is, let's close that cycle. Let's make sure that those gaps are filled and that people are flowing in a way that ultimately leads to growth overall, not only personally, but as a company and an organization.
Yeah, absolutely. And this program, again, you can just send one person. You don't need to send your whole team because you would like to ultimately bring this program to our members' companies as well. Maybe talk about those on-sites that you do and that you're hoping to do with Synergy Day.
Yeah, Synergy Camp is designed for people to come experience this, but it's not just limited to that because we understand that there are people who have 10 or 12, maybe 20 people on a team, not even that many, but it makes more sense at that point for me to come to you and do one that's specific to your team than to try and fly 10 people to wherever we're at. And so for that reason, once you see the result of it, it's just it's not just all work. It's a ton of fun that we're doing, but it's doing it in a way that's bringing a unforeseen, a very calculated, but yet unexpected result, in what it will do for your team. So, the on-sites are something that we started doing a few years ago, and I really didn't know how people would respond, but the response has been overwhelming. We're training almost every class that we have on site. Specifically for me, I've been called out to do company meetings, Christmas parties, company kickoff meetings, 45-minute to an hour motivationals, half-day leadership workshops, full-day leadership workshops, 2-day classes, whatever it is, it's all customized to your needs. And it starts with us having a conversation going, okay, what do you need? What does your team need? Where are you at right now? And once we discover that, we can build something around it. But these synergy camps or synergy days are going to be ultimately impactful in that as well.
I think it's going to be exciting. I know people go, 2.5 days, but I'm telling you, having attended stuff similar to this, and I know, CertainPath pours into us. Even if you're the person who's like, well, I don't know if I like this kind of stuff. Everyone is energized at the end of something like this. I mean, I've said it. It's something where I think it's worth its while in terms of the time and investment, because I think everyone's going to leave going, I'm just energized. Like you'd see it after expos, after stuff similar to this. So I'm excited for people to take this up because I know you'll do a wonderful job with it.
I'm excited too. And it's not something that you get to experience in most places.
No,
I don't think that anything like it exists within our space.
No.
Unless you've competed on Nickelodeon, you don't really know what's happening or what to expect. But I can promise you this: it's going to be a ton of fun. It's going to be very interactive. You're going to come away, hopefully, with a great deal of joy and a feeling of accomplishment. So it's going to be cool.
And everyone can do it. I want to make sure, in a Nickelodeon, there's no extreme physical challenges. No one's going to be injured, and no one will be slimed. I promise you that as well. You don't need to have or you're not going to have orange or what was green slime. That's right, or something like that.
Let's process that.
Watch out.
Yeah, it's going to be cool. I can assure you, there's going to be some twists and turns, but it's going to be neat.
Yeah, no, I think it'll be very, very cool. How do people find out? How do they express interest? I know we're kind of working through some of the details on that, but share with everyone what you know.
So as far as the Pride is concerned, that is a program that is going to be rolled out at Expo. We will hopefully open the registration sometime late September for the people who have already been on that queue. But you can right now go onto the hub and there's a link there that you can click to fill out one of those surveys and let your voice be heard on what it is that you need or may want to take from the program. So there's that piece. The Synergy Camps, that is already on the calendar. That calendar will be put out on the training hub, on the training portal very soon. That is scheduled for October 24th, 25th, and 26th, which is going to be here in Dallas. So as soon as that's up, take a look. As always, you can reach out to me. You can reach out to one of your coaches, ask questions. Everybody understands it. Everybody's a part of it. And although it's a very new thing, there are a lot of people excited about it. So those are some ways that you can do that. And of course, on-sites, if you'd like for me to come and do any of those things that we talked about, just reach out. It's very simple. It's not a hard process. It's easy, and I would look forward to doing it.
Yeah, for sure. I'm excited. Yeah, take Brandon up, guys. He's special at what he does. But all these, the pride, synergy camps, these on-sites, I think it gets to our topic of building a legacy, of developing yourself, developing others. And you said something early on, and I wrote it down because it was profound to me. You said, we lead to the exposure of our leadership. So if I've been only exposed to a certain level of leadership, that's kind of where I lead to, right? If I parent, so keeping that in mind, why is it so important to pour into ourselves and stretch ourselves to do these different personal development things? Why is that so important so we don't just lead to what we've been exposed to?
Right. So we want to constantly be growing so that we have the energy to continue to grow. We're giving our life to this thing. Whatever it is that we're doing, whatever it is that we've chosen to do for a living, we are exchanging our time. And time is something that they're not making any more of. You just can't get it back. And so if we're willing to exchange virtually our life for something, then at the end of the day, we want to know that it was something that mattered. Yeah. I heard a friend of mine at an interview, they asked him one time if he was afraid to fail. I said, "Aren't you afraid of failure?" And his response is something that stuck with me, and I think you'll appreciate. He said, "I'm not afraid to fail. I'm afraid to become successful at something that doesn't matter." And I thought that's one of the more powerful things I've probably ever heard, because we want it to matter. We want what we do to make a difference. Not only we want our ability to leave our legacy, to make a stamp, to leave our mark on something, and to do that effectively, we have to constantly be growing. We have to constantly be doing those things outside of what our experiences have been. Our responses to those exposures are one of two things. Either we want to duplicate something that we thought was really great from a leader, or we want to go to the extreme opposite of something that was terrible. That whether we had a great relationship with our parents or the people in our life that were supposed to be leading us and guiding us, our response is one of two things. Either we want to duplicate it, or we want to go the opposite way. And I think that there are things to learn in both of those that can only be discovered when we really get introspective and start investing in ourselves to figure out how we would do it.
Yeah, absolutely. The CertainPath, almost 1,200 members. We work with people that are $200 million businesses, and we also, though, are open to work with people that are just barely getting by, right? I think that's what makes this group so magical, is we are willing to extend our hands and go, come aboard with us. Let's try and pick you up off the ground, dust you off, point you the right direction, and let you take off, right? And we all have great stories of people that have come from really very little and thought they were going by, to now they multiple locations, and their teams love them, and they're great in the community, and that's what's so rewarding about what we do. But I know there's people that are watching or listening that are in that situation where it's like, man, I'm just trying to get this thing turned around. I'm trying to, I'm trying to make money for the first time so I can hire somebody or hire the next person. And they go, I don't know if I have the time to pour into myself in any way, or I have the money. I may not. I feel like I don't have them. Why? What do you say to those people that are running into that rock, that are running into that, that ceiling, right? That won't allow them to grow because they have that mindset. What do you say to those folks?
I would say it's time. I can't think of a better time to invest in yourself than a moment where you think you can't. The truth is that right where you are, and I'm just going to speak directly to our audience, Bob, there's someone who believes in you. And you may not feel like that. You may feel like whatever you're doing right now, nobody's really behind me. I feel like I'm on an island by myself, but somebody believes in you. Somebody has believed in you. Somebody invested something. And there are people who think you can do it. It's time to prove them right. It's time to get outside of where you are now, and let's really make a push toward what you can do. It's thankless sometimes as a leader to just continue to do and be faithful in what you're doing Being a leader is one of the most thankless things that you can do. Sometimes we are the ones who are constantly thanking other people and pouring into them. But who's pouring into me? I'm going to say that we're here to do that. That I'm here to do that. It is my desire to help you discover something about yourself that you didn't know. Let's showcase that thing that you've been working, that thing that you've been putting into action, that vision that you've seen for a long time that you don't know how to put language to or how to express. Let me help you do that. One of the great historical figures ever was this guy named David who killed a giant with a rock. We know that. Everybody knows that story. The city of Florence has a statue of David that faces Rome as a symbol to Rome that they are independent, that they will no longer be bullied. The story is amazing because one kid threw a rock. And we think that that's such a magical story because how can a rock kill a giant? But what we don't realize is that same kid had been in a field keeping the sheep, and he had thrown that rock 1,000 times. He had thrown it at the wolves. He had thrown it at the bears. He had thrown it on the can that he set on a fence post, whatever it is. He was working that thing when nobody could see it, when it didn't matter to anybody. And that day finally came for all those things to make sense. Take the time, invest in yourself, and let's come to that discovery moment where all those things that you've been dreaming about, all those things that you've been working that nobody could see, that didn't matter to anybody, let's make them matter.
Yeah.
That's what investing in yourself will do. It'll bring you to that moment where finally it all makes sense.
You got to pick up that rock that first time, right?
You got to throw it.
That's right.
Got to throw it.
Well, Brandon, thank you so much for all your time today. It was a lot of fun. I think people got we'll get a lot of value out of this, and I'm very excited to see where these couple of new initiatives are going. I think it's going to impact a lot of lives and a lot of businesses. So thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. It's about pleasure, and I appreciate it. Appreciate all you guys. Love you madly, and anything I can do to help, please reach out.
Support for this podcast comes from Trane and American Standard. The Trane and American Standard Diagnostics mobile apps are a technician support tool with many features to help technicians better install and service systems in communicating and 24-volt applications. When installing Trane and American Standard Link equipment, our latest communicating technology, technicians can connect to the equipment via Bluetooth through the Trane or American Standard Diagnostics mobile app while on the job site. Once connected, technicians have access to a dashboard of features, including real-time sensor readings, fault conditions, the ability to view or change system settings, automatic charging, and more without standing at the thermostat. Through the Diagnostics mobile app, technicians can easily configure or diagnose a Trane or American Standard Link system from the palm of their hand. For 24-volt applications, the Diagnostics mobile app guides the technician through the installation for select 24-volt equipment, providing wiring diagrams, dip switch configurations, and downloadable PDF installation reports. Technicians can access customers' diagnostics data, see active system alerts, remotely connect to select smart thermostats, access a refrigerant calculator, and search the Trane American Standard residential product literature. This is one tool all your technicians should have. Trane and American Standard Diagnostics mobile apps are available for download in the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. The Successful Contractor Podcast is part of the CertainPath family. CertainPath builds successful home service businesses and has for 23 years. We do it by providing contractors with a proven path to success, professional coaching, software solutions, and a member community of over 1,000 contractors just like you. Doubling your sales with a 20% net profit and an inspiring company culture is all possible. Let us show you the way. With CertainPath, success is made certain. Visit www.mycertainpath.com for more information.